Hi, my name is Raul Richardson. I am the real estate broker specializing in apartment buildings. I am the owner and broker of the Apartment Experts, or Real Estate Investment Experts, located here in San Jose. Today, I want to thank you for stopping by and visiting. There will be a series of informative YouTube videos that you can see at this website, and also to select the online petition. Today I'm here to talk to you about a case against rent control for San Jose and the Bay Area, and I'd like to give you a synopsis as to what's transpired and where we're heading to in the future. Back in early September of this year, San Jose City Council approved a plan to increase tenant protections. In a 9-2 vote, City Council decided to proceed in exploring the following 4 rent controls in the operation of your multifamily building. Number 1, lowering the maximum allowable rate from 8 to 4%, and perhaps even as low as 2%, such as in the cities of Richmond, East Palo Alto, and San Francisco. Number 2, City Council may implement mandatory acceptance of Section 8 subsidy housing vouchers. Number 3, City Council may impose the Just Cos Ordinance, which essentially eliminates the investor's right to be able to evict a tenant unless the tenant is overtly breaking the lease. Number 4, the addition of 10,000 more rent control units. Currently, there are approximately 43,000 units subject to rent control. The San Jose City Council is considering adding to the ordinance multifamily buildings that were built between the late 70s and the mid 90s, which, by the way, will include duplexes. Currently, as of today, the rent control ordinance in San Jose mandates a maximum yearly rental increase capped at 8% for triplexes and above, which were built before 1979. The cons of rent control. To someone ignorant of economic reasoning, rent control seems like a great idea. It deceivingly appears to instantly provide affordable housing to poor tenants, with the only apparent downside of a reduction in the income flowing to you, the investor. Now, who could object to such a policy? Consider the following effects on rent control on a short-term basis. Rent control will create long-term tenants. Tenants who will not move for fear that they will lose their sweet deal, thus decreasing the available housing stock. Rent control will immediately lead to a shortage of apartments, meaning that any new tenants entering the market will be hard-pressed in finding rent control housing. The investor, you, will not fear any vacancies either, and which will be a thing of the past, since the investor will know that the tenants will not leave. And if they do leave, you could easily replace them. It creates an adversarial relationship between the tenant and the investor. If a tenant falls behind on a rent, for example, there will be less incentive for the landlord or the property manager to cut the tenant some slack, because he knows he can replace the tenant immediately after an eviction. In a free market, the market rental price occurs where supply equals demand, and the market rate for a parent apartment perfectly matches tenants with available units. If your local government disrupts the supply-demand equilibrium by setting a ceiling far below the market clearing price, then the available housing supply will immediately decrease, creating even more demand. The effects of rent control on long-term are quite obvious. The permanent policy of rent control will restrict the construction of new apartment buildings, because the potential investor will realize that their revenues on such projects will be artificially capped. Building a movie theater or a commercial strip center will be much more lucrative than having to invest in an apartment building, which offers low margins and high risk. The main underlying problem with rent control is that investors will not have much incentive in the maintenance of their building. Repairs and routine preventative maintenance will be a low priority in comparison to maximizing the return on their investment, losing investment. In a real-life scenario, let us consider as an example the negative financial consequence to an investor facing new rent control ordinance. If we were to apply a 4% rent increase, what your city council considers a fair and reasonable return on the value of your property to a typical fourplex, earning $75,000 in gross rents, that rent increase alone will not cover any major repairs, such as the replacement of a water heater or the repair or replacement of a roof. It would barely cover preventative maintenance to the building. In summary, if the goal is to provide affordable housing to lower income tenants, rent control is a failed policy. It has failed in cities such as New York and Los Angeles, just to name a few. Rent control makes apartments cheaper for some tenants, some very few lucky tenants, while making them infinitely more expensive to the vast majority of the tenants, especially those entering the rental market. and that is as simple as it can get. How do we fight back and be heard? I strongly urge you to sign the petition that's found on this website. In the event you're having technical issues, feel free to give me a call directly to myself, 408-613-5820, and give me a call. We'll get it addressed immediately. I also strongly urge that you write to your elected officials and demand that your property rights be heard. It's imperative. The more people write and be heard, the more they understand that this is a very serious thing that we're not going to take lightly. In addition to your personal letters to your elected officials, I also highly recommend you attend the weekly city council meetings that are being held at City Hall and at the community center. Links to the center can be found on this website, and I thank you for the time that you spent in learning about what's going on to our market. And if you have any questions or concerns, feel free to give us a call, 408-800-4100, and we could discuss those items. I look forward to seeing you at the city council meetings and to hear from you. Again, it's Raul Richardson, the real estate broker specializing in apartment buildings, your apartment advocates. Thank you.